What's good, YouTube? CloudSlayer 53 here again. We're here with a reaction video to Andrew Tate versus Piers Morgan, part two. If you like the last one and you enjoy this one, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. I do appreciate it a lot. Without further ado, let's jump into this bitch. Yo.
They think you have a malevolent influence on young people. This was the excuse that was put out by the big tech companies.
Excuse being the key word.
Well, it may be, actually. You know, I intrinsically, I have a problem with censorship. I don't think Donald Trump should be banned from Twitter, for example, because the Ayatollah of Iran remains on Twitter and other social media platforms. And whatever I think of you, you're not the Ayatollah of Iran, right? So to me, there's got to be perspective here.
There's criminal organizations still on these platforms.
What companies like Twitter, how they treat the leader of Iran, and someone like you. It seems to me they're much more draconian on people like you than they are with people who perhaps should not be allowed platforms. But generally, I don't really agree with no platforming people. But I think what's interesting talking to you is it seems to me like you have gone on a bit of a journey of self-awareness about the impact of some of the stuff you said in the past, and you have said you wouldn't say it again.
Yeah, I mean, supposed to be land our free home of the brave and shit like that, but we're out here censoring everybody, you know what I mean? It doesn't always seem fair, but what is life fair, you know what I mean? Did he, you know, besides from the video where they're role playing, I don't think he really means any harm towards women, but who knows?
In the same way. I don't want to express regret for that, but it shows me that
I obviously don't know this person in real life, you know.
To somebody who recognizes that these can be quite damaging in the way that you said them.
Completely. As a professional and as an adult, it would be stupid for me to sit here and say that now that I'm the most famous man on the planet, my words do not have more impact than they did before. With impact, with power comes responsibility, and things need to be worded in a very careful way. Now, when I do a long format interview, I have to
Uncle Ben forgot to say that.
sit there and consciously understand that any 10 seconds of that can be cut and used against me. So I have to be a lot more careful with how I say my words and how I construct my sentences. Of course, we agree with all of that. That's exactly what's happened to me. I agree with all of that. I don't want to be seen as a negative influence in the world. I know that there's a whole bunch of men. I get thousands of emails a week from men whose lives I've saved. I get thousands of emails a week from men who are on the verge of suicide and I've saved their lives. We're talking about...
Well, that's good, you know what I mean? Helping people out for their mental health, but you can't always just, I guess, try to be misogynist and stuff like that. But I mean, it's tough when guys are looking for role models and stuff. I've been in a situation when I was younger like that, you know, a fucked up mindset where I wanted to cause harm to myself and or others, you know, but ultimately I didn't, you know. I remember I was staring down the barrel of a gun, but I, whatever reason, decided not to, you know what I mean? And I'm glad I didn't, because now that I got older and more mature, I see that life is more than just that. All that bullshit that you try to chase and whatnot. Full of more connections that you can make and full of people that actually do care about you, you know. So if you're young and you're listening to this and you're thinking about that stuff, hey man, live it out, you know what I mean? Life might suck now, but right around the way it can go up. You got to keep grinding, keep working hard, and do what you do best. If you don't do anything good in your point of view, work at it and get better at it. Then those good people, you surround yourself around good people. Like, okay, so let's say you want to quit drinking. Don't surround yourself around people that drink, because that's all they're going to do. And if drinking's making your life worse, get away from that shit. You know what I mean?
And by the way, I don't dispute that at all. You have almost certainly, I would think, from everything I've read about you, I think you have certainly been probably able to be very helpful to young men who have really struggled for self-confidence and all that kind of thing, right?
Completely.
I'm completely prepared to accept that. But there was also, I think, quite a disturbing piece that BuzzFeed did. And it talked about the negative impact of young, impressionable male minds when they've read or seen some of the more inflammatory things you've said. And they quoted, for example, Sandy, 22 from Washington. My father's gone from a man who minored in women's studies in college, who was kind and in touch with his emotions, treated all people, men and women around him, with kindness, to a man who says that whenever he sees an effeminate male stranger, he gets an overwhelming urge to murder them. He loves podcasts. He listens to a lot of podcasts. I know he's listened to Andrew Tate.
Whoa. Let's stop for a second. Let's be professional here, Piers, because you're a professional as am I. First, she said, did you say that my father went? She said, my father has gone.
Her father.
That's a full-grown man, firstly. So we're
Grown-ass man. What the fuck?
talking about my impact on children. You just talked about a full-grown man here. Secondly, I've never talked about murdering effeminate men in anything online ever, in any context ever. So I don't know why they have taken some random person I've never met in the world who's full grown, an adult, and come to their own.
I don't know. Maybe you're just a fucking psychopath. That makes listening to Andrew Tate makes you feel that way, I guess.
Conclusions.
What the fuck?
And lumped his name in with mine. That is absolutely unfair on every level. I didn't read this
What is your
BuzzFeed.
view?
I didn't read this BuzzFeed article, but after hearing the first point, I know it's trash. That is complete garbage.
What
Sit
is
and
your-
say
what
that
is your
I'm the
view?
reason this man believes what he believes.
I've seen a quote from you, and you can tell me.
He could try to claim some psychological damage and sue him. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, you know, because a lot of people become sue happy nowadays. Be like, hey man, you fucked me up psychologically for my life. Now I feel like murdering women all the time. I'm gonna sue you for reparations or some shit like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's tough. Not tough, but it's fucked up. People try to get free money or stuff like that, you know? And it would be to his advantage right now, especially with Andrew Tate being banned and all that shit.
What you feel here.
Sure.
Excuse me. Sorry.
People don't want to see men dressed up in dresses. Transgender.
That's not exactly what I said.
What did you say?
I said the reason I am so popular and I'm so famous is that there's a large contingent of men who don't want to wear makeup, who still want to make money, go to the gym, be strong, drive a fast car, be traditionally masculine, and don't want to be shamed for that, and they don't want to be called toxic for that. That is the reason I'm so massively famous. That is what I said.
What do you think of transgender people?
That's nothing to do with me. I'm not transgender.
Everybody wants a nice car, though.
They
Are
can
you
do whatever
transphobic? Do you consider yourself that?
Transphobic? What? Afraid?
Well, it kind of, yeah. You have
I don't live in fear, my friend. I have no problem.
You have a dislike of transgender people.
I don't know any transgender people.
But you have a dislike of what they stand for, what they are.
No. Why would I?
I don't know.
That's not my issue. That's not my issue. And that's actually quite interesting because when I was attacked, a lot of these stupid articles like BuzzFeed, because it's ridiculous, that first point proves anyone with a brain knows that that's garbage. When they attacked me, they lump a whole bunch of things in together. They say misogynistic, racist, transphobic. They just put them all together at random. I'm mixed race.
By the way,
I don't know where they get these. They just get these buzzwords and put them in a sentence.
By the way, I completely agree.
It's
and
crazy.
I've had the same thing done to me.
Okay, well,
and
there
I'm
you go
not
then.
calling you anything. I'm asking you what you personally believe you are.
It's not an issue I discuss. What I do discuss is
Obviously, CloudSlayer. It's good.
transgender people.
I support individual liberty. I'm a libertarian.
Yeah, so you support transgender people.
Sure. Why not?
Exactly, yeah.
So, but my point is, as a whole, you're
Do what you want to do. Who the fuck cares, you know? I'm not against you. Just, if that's not my way, don't force it on me. I mean, that's a lot of people's viewpoints. If you're happy, as long as you're happy, I'm happy.
saying that I'm saying I don't want to see men in dresses. I'm saying no. I'm
You
saying
support gay people.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a large contingent of men in the world who like the idea of the traditional masculine view of the world, who feel happy when they watch 80s action heroes with big muscles and they run around. And there's nothing toxically masculine about having a fast car and a beautiful girlfriend and making a bunch of money. And
Nothing at all.
Absolutely. And those are the people who are my fans.
I
and
agree.
I'm saying.
But the problem is, okay, I'm going to interrupt you just to say this. No.
Okay, but you're saying that I have a problem with men in dresses. I'm saying no. The people who watch my
I've asked you
content.
that question. You've answered.
Yeah, but the people who watch my content don't want to see men in dresses. Clearly, I don't wear a dress. That's the point
That's
I'm
not
making.
why they're watching your content.
No.
Because you're not wearing a dress.
No, but that's the point I'm making.
To be fair, I wouldn't watch it if he wore a dress either. He doesn't have the figure for it. Just kidding.
There's a large contingent of men who are not interested in the things that perhaps the YouTube algorithm's trying to feed them.
I think there are
And they
lots
find
of-
my-
Neither do I. I look like a piece of fried bread.
Right?
Okay, so you agree a man should protect and provide for a woman?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you agree if you were walking down the street with a woman, you'd be responsible with her safety?
Yeah.
Cool, absolutely. So if that woman wanted to walk alone
I
at
don't
night,
think I have
they-
the authority. over the
All
woman
right.
as we do that.
Okay, so let me ask you another question.
Crap.
Because we are professionals. Let's say your woman decided she wanted to take a nice little walk through the south side of Chicago at 2 a.m. and she wanted you to go with her, and you were responsible for fighting and dying on the spot if she was attacked. Don't you think you would say to her, no, we're not going out right now, it's not safe?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd have authority to make the decision. So
No,
we
I
agree.
wouldn't.
So
I
we
would say I don't
agree.
think you
We can wait till the morning.
her own volition.
Well, if she decides, you're not going to stop
I
her.
have no power to stop her.
Completely.
But you think you do.
No, I don't think I have power
You
to stop
clearly
her.
do.
No, I think I have power to make the decision. I think, no, that's not
So
sensible.
if you have the power to make the decision, you have the power to stop her.
No, because
And
if
that's
she,
where we differ. And that's why I think it's interesting about you. I don't think you.
That doesn't make any sense, but whatever. It's like he's not stopping her, but he's advocating for her not to go. You know, weigh my opinion pretty highly. You know, it's if you're together in a relationship, you should be weighing that opinion highly.
You really think through what you're saying.
I think through what I'm saying
Because
so carefully.
Yeah, but Andrew, what
Piers.
you've literally just said is that you have the power to stop
No,
her.
I said I don't have the power to stop her. I'm not going to lock her in the room. I'm saying that.
That's his
If she wants to
opinion.
go on her own,
Then she's going to go.
then
But
you
as a
don't have authority to stop
Okay,
her.
but as a couple, if we're going to sit there and decide if we're going to take this.
You
late-
asked me, would I feel a sense of responsibility for her safety? Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So
would
let me
I have
finish,
the
Piers.
power or authority to stop her doing it? No.
No, of course not. So let me finish, Piers. You're not going to stop her walking out the hotel. Of course, it's her decision. She's a sovereign individual. My point is that usually in a couple, you sit there as a team and you discuss, and perhaps on certain issues, the woman will know more about X and she'll decide X, and the man might know more about Y and he'll decide Y. So I'm saying if we're as a couple and we're sitting there and deciding, as a couple, as a team, and she says she wants to take this late night stroll, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to veto this one. I'm going to call veto
do you
on this one
believe
because
in-
it's dangerous,
Right.
which to a degree would give me, in that particular scenario, a degree of authority. If she said, I don't want to listen to you, Andrew.
doesn't give you authority.
If she says, I don't want to listen to you, Andrew, I want to go on that walk, then what can I do? Say, well, then
Then you don't have authority.
Then I wish you the best,
I mean-
my love.
He has an opinion.
Cool, then it's a semantic argument.
Not really.
I think it is.
It's the complete opposite of what you said you had, which was authority.
No problem, Piers. No problem. But I think
Let
we
me ask
actually.
you about what do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real. No.
Really?
Correct.
You don't believe people can be clinically depressed?
I think PTSD is very real. Unfortunately, I have some friends who suffer from that. I know that feeling depressed is real. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life. I believe that
I think that's why a lot of people like doing drugs too. You know what I mean? It's an escape. Common saying that they say is, if I feel good for 5 minutes out throughout the day, then I had a good day, even if the rest of the day is like bad and shit like that. I believe there was some guy that was in like a cartel recent interview. He was saying stuff like that as well. So I mean, it's tough. I remember I was younger and I was depressed, especially like early teens to late teens. You know, even up to maybe 22. It was pretty bad. It's a tough place to get out of. You know, you see color, but everything's black and white. Nothing. It seems gray, per se. So.
it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease.
But life gets better. Life gets better for sure.
I've had difficult periods in my life, and also many of my friends, like I said, suffer from PTSD and been through terrible things.
Just got to appreciate the little things.
That the things that made them feel better is when they woke up and said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to damage me anymore. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this as hard as
Right.
I can.
And by the way, on that,
For sure. And don't let anybody enable you to blame other people for your own actions. If you don't like the actions of others, kick them out of your life. You know, it's good. It's tough. And it's not easy to do. But if they're going to hold you back and make you feel a certain way and you disagree with it and they don't, they're not necessarily want you to change, then maybe they're not the best person to be there for you. Maybe they're not there for you at all.
I agree.
So we agree.
My favorite speech is the Rocky Balboa one.
Okay, so then we agree. No, we do.
Here's where we don't agree.
Piers.
You don't. Hang on. You've got to let me
Sure.
interject when I don't agree with you,
Sure.
right? Where I don't agree with you is that there's no such thing as clinical depression. There absolutely is.
Well-
it's a proven scientific medical reality. There's a different argument about have we gone a bit too soft, right, in
Yeah.
schools and
Yeah.
all the rest of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think some people moan and whine too much about their lot in life? Definitely.
Okay.
Are we a victimhood society? 100%.
Okay.
Is there such a thing as clinical depression? Absolutely.
So if
and my argument is that if you actually bracket everybody who's not clinically depressed and doesn't have the genuine
Excuse me.
medical condition, then actually if millions of people are deemed to have depression, the ones who really need the help don't get it.
Well,
that's my point.
Well, that I would agree with. You're right. I think it's certainly an overused term.
But you don't accept there is such a thing as clinical depression.
No, I don't.
And that to me is a damaging view.
Okay. Well, let me explain why. If someone comes to me and says, I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this. And what you need to do is stop identifying that way, and let's work together to try and fight against it.
There isn't an eminent doctor in the world who would tell you there is no such thing as clinical depression. Who would not tell you that some people it's simply beyond their control.
Now, sometimes they can diagnose you, but sometimes their solution is to throw pills in you. That's what I don't agree with. I remember I was diagnosed with like ADHD at a young age, but my mom did not want to throw me on pills for that. Her main reason was because pills were, it's kind of like an epidemic, you know, it's sweeping through Native American communities. Our family's seen it, you know, a bunch of other shit. So her reasoning for me not to be on that stuff was because of that. And I love my mother very much, and I thank her for that, you know, because I even have a hard time taking Tylenol, you know what I mean? I don't like taking any kind of pills or anything like that because it has fucked up many communities, not just Native American communities, all communities, anyone that's impoverished and stuff like that, you know, having a hard time. That's an easy escape in a place you call hell, you know. Sometimes hell is just right here. You can be in a beautiful place, but in here, you can be in an ugly place.
Harry wrote a book saying exactly that, my friend.
All those pills do is mask it,
I said depression,
make you run away from it, you know.
And Johan Hari wrote a book, which
What's
actually,
to do with Johan Hari?
because he wrote a book proving me right. Most people,
Johan Hari's a journalist.
sure, and my point is that a lot of people who are clinically depressed are suffering with something in their life, and if you fix the problem in their life, perhaps they won't feel depressed anymore. That's not a disease.
Yeah, but Andrew,
that's situational.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers,
That's
it's
what I
fine.
believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers,
that would agree with it.
Piers,
Do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed
Why do you know?
because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's like saying I'm never going to die because I don't believe in it. It's ridiculous.
Perhaps, but if it allows me to live a life where I feel happy, and
I sprained my ankle, but I didn't sprain my ankle because that's not what I call it.
You are, because
Piers,
somebody with your following
the
says there is no
thousands
such
of
thing.
people, the
I
thousands
call it
of
butt cheek
people
fraconitis.
saying my doctor told me I was clinically depressed and it's a disease that I have got in my brain and I can't be fixed. And I started listening to you and I realized that that's not the case and I can fix my own life and you're the only person who has ever helped me.
Oh, Andrew.
Thousands of people have emailed me that exact email.
If you think you are single-handedly curing people of clinical depression, you are living in cloud cuckoo land.
I am reading the emails of people who I have cured of clinical depression.
You're reading emails from people who have believed you when you say there isn't such a thing, and they've probably never been diagnosed clinically depressed. They just want to go along with what Andrew Tate says.
I don't think so.
I think your view of that
How do you know that?
view is dangerous.
I respect that you think my view is dangerous, and I respect you have the right to view that, to think that. I think that clinical depression, I actually agree with you, is massively overdiagnosed. I've already said that PTSD is a very real thing. I've already said
I didn't. Oh, hang on.
Okay.
Again, you're misquoting me. I did not say clinical depression is massively overdiagnosed. I said that people who claim to be depressed but don't have clinical depression, I think that is massively overblown, right? In other words, there are a lot of people who just have a bad day and declare, I've got depression. And I say, well, have you been to a doctor? Have you been clinically diagnosed? If you have, and you have clinical depression, that's one thing. But if you haven't, we could probably work on some mental strength and resilience skills with you. But a clinically depressed person has an absolutely proven medical condition that is beyond their control.
Not according to me and many others, my friend.
Well, look, what do you know about it, honestly?
I know.
You're not a doctor, are you? You're not trained, are you?
I'm not a doctor.
You're not a psychiatrist. You're none of those things.
Sure.
He said he's went through his own hard times.
For himself, spouting stuff off, much of which I agree with, as you've seen in the interview, but some of which is ludicrous. And that's
Like, sometimes, even though you're educated in the subject, you're not always going to be right, too, you know? It sucks. Life's not always... It doesn't always go by what the playbook tells you.
It's not ludicrous.
It is.
It's not.
we're in a victimhood society has got to stop. I'm with you.
Okay.
But the moment you try and deny clinical depression,
I believe feeling depressed is real. I do not believe it's a disease that you catch from the sky and you cannot affect. I believe that no matter what happens, I believe you have control of your own mind and you can fight against it. I believe if you change your circumstances in your life, you may feel different. I'll give you a quick example. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I told him, because I replied to my emails. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I'm on antidepressants, it doesn't work. I said, I don't know what to say to you besides this. And he said he lost his girlfriend, that's why he became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym, get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say to you. But I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train. He went, he started sending me progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better.
Kick the junk food.
Six-pack, he's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that. I feel so much better, etc. The doctor who was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it, he started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. Now, I'm not saying it's the case for everybody.
No.
I'm just saying.
Here's my question, though. Have you seen the guy's medical records?
Of course not. I just told you the
So
story.
you're just taking his word for it?
Oh, I am taking the words of a man who emailed me with a bunch of medication and specific
So you're
doses.
denying proven science because one guy writes to you who you help and you've not seen any evidence he ever had clinical depression diagnosed.
I'm denying the idea that.
And on the back of it, you go on your rants in public to tens of millions of people denying something because this guy writes to you and says he had it and you.
Not just that guy though. He's saying it's multiple people.
That's fine.
And that's where you don't have a responsible view of your.
Sometimes it takes somebody else to be like a voice of reason, you know, to give you a goal to achieve it. Because sometimes when somebody gives you a goal to attain, you take on a responsibility, right, to do that. And then you're like, well, goddamn, I feel pretty good. I'm going to keep going, see where this takes me. I no longer care about that, how I felt where that person crushed my heart, but I do feel great about this, and I'm going to keep going, and I see a brighter tomorrow with going forward with these actions.
Influence over
Disagree. It's very responsible because I'm saving people's lives. I disagree that if you feel depressed, I disagree that you cannot affect it and change your life and take control and fix yourself and feel happier. I disagree with that.
Do you think?
I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best, if you work hard, you can become a better person. And I also will argue with you, and I'll counter the point that you sitting here on your platform telling people they have clinical depression, there's nothing they can do about it, is far more dangerous. Okay, well then, if
Why do you misquote me?
No, because
Just shove the pills down your throat.
you're
You
saying
hate being misquoted.
no. You're saying if people have clinical depression, that
I
they
never said
have
there's
a
nothing to
disease.
do about it. They go to a doctor and they get diagnosed and they get help.
Then I would argue the point that if
It's the complete
somebody,
opposite of what you just said. I said.
I would argue the point that if somebody has depression of any kind, whether it's clinical, whether it exists or not, whether they feel depressed or not, whatever, that taking control of their life, taking personal responsibility, and working hard is always going to be the positive, best thing they can possibly do for their life going forward.
How
and the people
positive
going
is
around
it?
them.
How-
So sitting here saying I don't believe in clinical depression, you don't believe in depression. No, I don't. I believe that people can take control and fight against things. I
Right.
believe in personal sovereignty.
Right. Fine.
Good. So we agree.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't. You
Piers,
know
you're on my side, afraid of being canceled along with me.
As I said to you from the start,
that's all
I
it is.
agree with a lot of what you said.
That's all it is.
You to task over the stuff I don't agree with, and I'm just not sure you understand why it's wrong, which is in itself quite revealing. Let me talk to you about Alex. Let me talk to you about Alex Jones, right? Who I have a bit of history with. He tried to get me deported from the United States.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. What is your view of Alex Jones?
I think that Alex Jones is a sovereign individual who, very much like the rabid left, deserves a chance to speak on his points of view. I think that the truth on issues is usually somewhere in the middle between two extremes. And
I mean, Alex Jones has been right about some shit, though. He exposed people for it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, some things are exposed as nonsense. You know, it's a weird situation.
Really? You know, he's just been sued by the families for millions and millions.
I have no idea.
You don't know anything about it?
No.
So why would you support someone in public when you know nothing about the most infamous
When
thing
have I
attached to
supported
it?
him in public?
You have supported him in public.
I've been on his podcast.
Yeah, but you said nice things about it.
I say nice things about lots of people.
What do you think of Alex Jones?
I said nice things about you, Piers.
That's fine.
So to sit and say that I've been on a podcast and I say nice things about
But
him
you
means
said
I
you support his right to speak about things like Sandy Hook.
I don't know Sandy.
Everybody's got the right to speak. That's what our nation's found on.
school children.
Unless you do some fucked up shit like kill people or something, I don't think you really should be doing anything, you know?
Here's why I know why you're good at your job. First, you interrupt people a lot, which is good. It's a good skill,
Actually,
and then there you go, prove me right.
But here's exactly
and the timing's good.
Here's exactly what I do. I only interrupt people like you when you either refuse to answer the question or answer a completely different one.
Sure.
And I want to remind you of what the question was.
Fair.
Or when you misquote me back, which you've done repeatedly through the interview, where you say, "You see, Piers, you agree with me," and the viewer who's been watching will go, "No, he didn't."
Cool, no problem. The other thing you do is you try and set these traps like now. So you're saying
what's the trap you think I'm setting?
You're saying that I agree with every single point of view a man has.
I literally didn't say that.
You're saying, well, you support Alex Jones.
Why would you misquote me?
Because you're saying you support Alex Jones, and you said you've been on his podcast, and he said this. I don't know
what do you think of Alex Jones?
I don't know everything he said.
What do you think of him?
I think on his podcast he was cordial. I think he was professional on his podcast. I've also done podcasts with rabid leftists and who openly hate me.
Is it wrong?
I do a podcast circuit. Okay. So and I don't know everything he's ever said.
When somebody like
I don't know what. So I don't know what you're trying to get here because I did a podcast.
Let me get a word in it.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares if he is nice about this person? You know, to this person, doesn't mean you support everything that they do, right or wrong. You know,
I will tell you.
Let's go.
It's impossible to know everything about an individual.
It was staged by actors.
Okay.
This compounded
yourself, myself, it don't matter.
The families of those poor 20 children who were gunned to pieces by a lunatic with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. They were already grief-stricken beyond belief, and this guy poured petrol onto that grief quite deliberately to make a huge amount of money from his InfoWars fake news bullshit. And as a result, a lot of the families...
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And they've won, and he's going to have to pay back tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars in damages to these families, and quite right,
as he should.
Anything about the pain he caused them. Some of them actually had people turn up outside their houses with guns.
Fuck.
Alex Jones had told them that these parents were making it all up. They were all staged actors. It was all run by the government.
Fuck.
Now I've told you that. What is your view of Alex Jones?
I don't see why any of that has to do with me. It's very interesting. I've done the guy's podcast. I know him well. He was professional and courteous to me. When I meet somebody and they show me respect, I show them back. Respect. That's what I do, as I did with you.
You respect him?
If somebody shows me respect, I show them respect back.
So if Adolf Hitler showed you respect, you'd respect him back.
That's a...
Yeah, if you show me respect, you know, regardless of what you did. I don't know what you did outside of our meeting between you and I. You know what I mean? So I could meet somebody here watching this video and you could be like the nicest person and you leave and you go kill people. I'm not going to know that. It doesn't mean I support you killing people. I'd be like, well, with my interaction with that person, it was great. They were nice, very respectful, and I respected them. And then you tell me that happened and I'm like, whoa, well, obviously I don't know that person as well as I thought, or, you know, none of that's shown through when we met.
Stupid question, Piers.
It's not. It's a logical extension of your argument.
No, if in 1931 I was walking through Germany and a man come up to me and said, sorry for bumping into you, I'd say, sorry, no problem, mate. I'd show respect back. I don't know, what are you trying to say? That I sanction the Holocaust?
You literally just said if somebody respects you, you respect them back.
I say if somebody shows me respect, I show respect back. That's a good way to go through life.
Whoever it is.
If somebody shows me respect and is courteous to me, I'm courteous back. Yes.
How can you respect somebody who caused such misery and pain to Sandy?
I have no idea the specifics of the thing you're discussing. I don't understand any of it.
Well,
I don't know anything about it. You told me your version of events.
When did you go on the podcast?
I was on the podcast about four times in the last 4 years. I did one relatively recently.
So 4 times.
Once a year.
You went on Alex Jones's podcast.
Correct.
Promoting him, helping him make money.
I don't think it was promoting and helping him because...
Well, it's his podcast.
Well, yeah, but I've been on the podcasts of people who absolutely hate me. I've been on liberal left-wing podcasts. I've been on feminist podcasts. And no, you just sat here saying I would like you to agree, perhaps we can agree on this point, that I'm not a feminist. I go on feminist podcasts. I do a podcast circuit.
You're not a feminist?
No, I don't know.
Oh, crap.
They think you...
Oh, man.
Wing podcast. I've been on feminist podcasts. And no, you just sat here saying I would like you to agree, perhaps we can agree on this point, that I'm not a feminist. I go on feminist podcasts. I do a podcast circuit. I do
You're not a
5
feminist?
I don't know.
What do you think a feminist is?
Well, let's not change subject here, Piers. Stay on the
Well, hang
subject.
on, you mentioned feminism.
Completely, but you're trying to get away from the point, because what you did is you're trying to say, because I did a podcast, I sanction all of this person's views, and I'm saying I do 5 podcasts a week. I do 5 podcasts a week, and I don't sanction 100% the views of any other person on the planet, because I'm an individual, and he has an individual views, as do you. So I don't know why you're trying to come at me with one of his views and pretend that's something to do with me.
Because it's a pretty big view.
No, but it's a lame trick, Piers, and you're better than this. So let's move on.
Would you?
It's
lame,
and let's move on.
Putin had a podcast, would you go on it?
Sure.
You would? Great. Okay, then we know what you're talking about.
If Vladimir Putin had a podcast, I'd go on it.
Fine.
If Joe Biden had a podcast, I'd go on it. If a feminist has a podcast, I'd go on it.
Just because you go on their podcast doesn't mean you 100% agree with what they do, you know what I mean? Or anything that, you just show up on a YouTube video or some shit. It does not mean you agree with them. I mean, you guys, I have a bunch of friends I don't agree with politically or anything like that, but I still love those guys. You know what I mean? They have different religious beliefs, and I still respect it. I respect them as individuals because they show me that respect, and,
Piers Morgan has a podcast.
That's all there is to it.
If Alex Jones, I don't see the point you're making. There's no point here. You're digging, but there's nothing to find.
Well, I'm not. I'm taking your position that if somebody shows you respect them.
I think that.
I'm saying there are lots of people in the world I do not respect. If Vladimir Putin showed me respect, I would not respect him.
That's your opinion. But
No, it's my view. What's
okay,
your
that's
view?
your view. Well, your
view is you would.
You're sitting here, Piers, saying that I'm on uncensored show. And in your intro, you said that it's important that we don't have echo chambers and we have varying opinions.
Correct.
But then you're saying the people you don't like, you wouldn't go on their podcast.
No.
So you are a hypocrite.
No.
I will go on anybody's podcast and discuss any point.
I don't think you understand what censorship means, do you? Like a lot of words we've had problems with today.
You're just saying
What do you think censorship means?
No, but the point I'm trying to make here.
Hang on. What do you think censorship means?
Don't hide from the fact that you're saying you will only do podcasts with people you like.
Why do you think that's censorship?
No, that's your prerogative. My prerogative is
why are you uncensored?
I'll discuss opinions with anybody, and I've done hard left wing. Why are you not asking me about the podcasts I've done for the people who are hard liberal left wing?
By the way, I don't care whether they're left or right.
Okay.
Extremists to me are all nuts, right?
Then we agree.
Yes.
So perfect.
Good.
Next subject.
Yeah, regardless of which side, you can take it too far.
And before you move on, sorry, Piers, but before
If you're willing to fight for those political views, I think you're just crazy.
And I don't have a personal problem with you, but it is kind of disingenuous to try.
If you're willing to listen to each other and grow, that's a whole nother situation.
Has nothing to do with me. On any level.
Let me respond.
On any level.
Let me explain. Like you just said.
So we'll get nowhere if we just fight with each other and bicker.
Since he said the whole thing was staged.
I don't know when he
said. And I think the fact that a smart guy like you wants me to believe you had no idea that Alex Jones, who's been in the news now for the last 2 years for being sued by these families for the most heinous thing imaginable of pouring petrol onto their grief by claiming that shooting was staged. The fact that you're pretending you didn't know about any of that.
It's not about pretending
and you've been on his podcast four times, supporting him and making him money. So damn right I'm going to call you out on it.
When I do a podcast, if you think I spend time...
But he didn't go up there and say Sandy Hook was fake too, that's a whole different story. If you went on to his podcast and said the same shit with him, then he'd be supporting him.
Analyzing the point of view of that person and everything they've ever said
you should.
For years beforehand.
It's not years, it was minutes in most cases.
Years and years.
When did you last go on his... When did you last go on his podcast?
You trying to lump me in and attack me for a person whose podcast I do having a view is absolutely childish. Because I've done a bunch of podcasts with people.
You would do a podcast.
I've done a bunch of podcasts with people who are advocating for things that I do not agree with on every single level. In fact, most of my podcasts are me disagreeing with people. So it's completely crazy that you're trying to lump me in with that. That's cheap. That's cheap.
You are completely misconstruing the point of what I'm saying. I think deliberately.
No. What you're trying is a cheap trick, and I'm just making it clear to the audience.
It's not a cheap trick. I'm just curious where your moral line is.
It's a cheap trick.
Where's your moral line?
I disagree with the points of view with the majority of the people I do podcasts with. So it's a very cheap trick you're trying here. So
when people invent vile things to make themselves rich off the back of families of little kids who've been blown to pieces with a machine gun or a semi-automatic version of a machine gun, I think that is actually a line I wouldn't cross. I wouldn't be happy to go on someone's podcast when they've been responsible for doing that. It's not about political views or differences of opinion over facts. It's about...
I don't know. I watched Alex Jones, and I don't know any a lot of that stuff he was saying. You know, I didn't watch him like religiously or anything. I seen him on like JRE and things like that. But while I'm working, you know, I have my podcast in, and I'm out there grinding, working my ass off at my job. You know, that's, I don't know. But when you're working too, you don't catch everything. So.
About somebody deliberately inventing a pack of lies to compound the grief of families. And I'm curious, you don't think you have any need to go down any kind of moral quandary about people like that before you continue to allow them to use you for their own promotion?
He didn't use me. He didn't use me for
Why
his
does he have you on the
promotion.
podcast?
Because we disagreed and discussed points like we're doing with you right now.
Did you call him out on that?
Are you using me? We didn't discuss that.
I'm not using you. I'm giving you a platform most people aren't giving you right now to show the world who you really are.
Fantastic. So neither of us are using each other. I'm here on your show. I'm providing you content. You're giving me a platform. And nobody's using each other. It's mutual. We don't agree on a whole bunch of issues.
That's fine.
And here we are.
I think we've had a robust exchange.
Yeah, just like I've done on nearly every other podcast. And if someone were to come and say to me in the future, there's something, heaven forbid, there's a skeleton in your closet, and someone were to come to me and say, you were on Piers Morgan's show, did you know he's X or he's done X? I would say that's absolutely nothing to do with me.
Right. But
I make the same point protecting you. I don't know what you do. I don't know your personal life.
I can guarantee one thing. I will not be inventing stories about the families of kids.
I hope not. I hope you're a righteous person.
I'm not claiming to be a righteous person.
I don't know.
I'm just saying that I just think it's interesting that you have no moral compulsion about going on people.
It's not about moral compulsion. It's about I don't know what you do, Piers. You could have a bunch of skeletons in your closet, my friend. I don't have a clue. I'm here on your TV show.
I'm sure we all have lots of skeletons. Let me ask you this.
Nobody's perfect, man.
About the feminism thing.
Sure.
Do you identify as a feminist?
I think that women and men are fantastic. Both of us are fantastic. I think women reproduce. I think women need to be respected, protected, provided for. I think that
we're all fucked up individuals, though. We can be.
What do you think it means? What is feminism?
I think that the idea of feminism is that men and women are equal under the law.
And do you believe that?
Completely.
We should be treated completely equal.
Yeah, but we are equal under the law. Wouldn't you agree?
Not really. I think there are still some issues in the world where, I mean, certainly in workplace, the
in the world,
remains,
other parts of the world.
Well, that can be discussed, the gender pay gap. I think that's already been discussed.
Well, it's different. Like if you go into like a packaging plant and you're an 80-pound woman, and we're packaging 50 to 75-pound bags of product, you know, dehydrated potatoes or something like that. I don't. You can take it with a grain of salt, but that could be in most cases above half your body weight. That's fucking. It's tough to. You got to pick it up and seal the bags, and you know, girl might be able to do it once or twice. I'm not saying all women are like that because I've met other women that are bigger, stronger. You know what I mean? Beat up some dudes. So whatever.
Discussed at length. I think that there's actually.
You think women should go to work?
There's small dudes too that can't do that.
Why wouldn't they?
Because in the parts of the country of the world you were mentioning earlier that have different views of women, they don't go to work.
In the parts of the world that person from the podcast was from, for the point I made, yeah, they didn't. But I don't live in those parts of the world. I think women should be free to work if they choose. I think it's very important that the family unit remains. I do believe that in my personal view, the most important and respectful thing a woman can do is become a mother. I think that having children is a beautiful thing. But obviously, if a woman wants to work and wants to have a career, especially now with paternity leave or maternity leave and she can manage to do both, why wouldn't I want women to work? I don't know why anyone would ever assume I don't want women to work or think women can't work, because I said that I should keep them safe sometimes.
Good.
No, but it's interesting because you have to look at this, Piers. It's interesting how people extrapolate. Andrew said that he's responsible for a woman's safety, and he said that gives him authority to make decisions for her safety, and that's been misconstrued, and he's a bad person. He believes that women are property. So, but now we believe that Andrew doesn't believe in love. Andrew doesn't believe women should work. I don't know where all of that comes from.
Well, that's why I'm glad we've had a chance to discuss
Completely. I believe women are sovereign individuals, and they can make any choice they so desire. I think that it's important that we remember that a man has a duty. I think I certainly in my relationship have a financial responsibility to provide for my woman. My woman would never have to work unless she wanted to, because I'm the kind of person who works hard enough that she wouldn't have to.
Should young men, though, all aspire to be like you?
Should young men aspire to work very hard, have no criminal record, become multimillionaires, protect and provide for the women close to them, be sovereign so they can stand up and have their own points of view in face of cancellation, be able to not be mentally intimidated when they go on national TV and there's traps set up for them? Yeah, I believe that confident, strong men who stand up and protect and provide for women are a good thing for the world and a good force for the world. And I don't think that I put a magic spell on anybody. I think there's a whole bunch of men in the world who understands my value. And if men grow up to be like me, you're gonna have a whole bunch of people with no criminal record, dedicated athletes, who protect and provide for the people close to them, are fantastic for the economy. And I'm certainly not the worst influence out here, Piers. You have Little Nas twerking on the devil on music videos, which our children are digesting. You have drill artists singing about stabbing people to death in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. You have rabid psychopaths on whether the right or the left announcing violence on the other side. You have all these insanities in the world. And because